الرحيم اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا رب زدنا علما إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Alhamdulillah, through the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are currently once again going through some of the most sacred days of Islam, of our Islamic calendar, which is the month of Dhul Hijjah. Hajj, as we all know, is the fifth pillar of Islam. From amongst the 5 pillars of Islam, each pillar has a certain significance and a certain worship, a certain ibadah. For example, the testimony of faith, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Through that we testify the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we confirm our belief in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the foundation of our deen. And then after that we have Salah, Salah which is the physical ibadah, the physical worship that is required, followed by then zakah, which is monetary worship, followed by fasting, which is also which is spiritual worship and physical worship, and the final one is the Hajj, which includes all those elements in the first 4. In the Hajj, one again and again testifies the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Tawheed, Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika lak labbaik, innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. So the servant is testifying Tawheed and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again and again throughout the Hajj. At the same time in the Hajj, the physical worship, which is the Salah, takes place throughout the Hajj, as well as several rituals that are required to be taken during the time of Hajj. And you got the monetary worship also in the Hajj, where a person now has to, apart from monetarily making sacrifice in paying to go for the Hajj, as well as testifying the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again and again, the spiritual aspect of the Hajj and the monetary aspect of the Hajj is when a person has to spend a lot of money in Allah's path, through which Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned in the hadith that if a person spends on going for Hajj or Umrah with the right intention for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the money spent will also become worship. And in another hadith it is mentioned that that person who does Hajj and Umrah again and again, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ensure that this person does not suffer any poverty in their life. So Hajj encompasses or includes all those ibadat and worship that make up the 5 pillars of Islam. Hajj is such an ibadah in which each person does the same rituals and actions at the same time. And there is no differentiation between each person. We will see that everybody is dressed in the white cloth, the ihram, and there is no differentiation between rich and poor. There is no differentiation between king and a normal person. There is no differentiation between race and color. Everybody is equal in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Hajj teaches the Haji. The Hajj teaches the Haji a lot of lessons if one goes for Hajj with an open mind to learn from the Hajj also, in order to make a difference to one's life. I always say that when we travel, we should travel with an open mind and look around us and look at what we are experiencing, for that to have an effect on our lives. For that to have an effect on our lives. So for somebody who is maybe proud, for somebody who suffers pride, Hajj is the ideal solution for one to remove pride. Why? Because he or she is in the same cloth as any other person. In the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, the most significant one in the eyes of Allah is the one with taqwa. Is the one with taqwa. For somebody who has anger issues, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, la jidala fil hajj, that there should be no fighting during Hajj. For somebody who has anger issues, Hajj is the ideal solution, in which requires a lot of sabr, because obviously we are with people from all over the world, from all different cultures, from all different races, and everyone has a different mentality, everyone has a different way of life. Certain things we see in Hajj which are not acceptable to somebody else, and certain things we see in Hajj which are good things also. So under those circumstances, there's a lot of sabr, patience that is required. So there's a lot for the Hujjaj to learn throughout the Hajj. There's a lot for them to learn throughout the Hajj. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all those Hujjaj that have gone for Hajj or that are going still, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them acceptance. May Allah ta'ala grant them a Hajj Mabrur inshallah ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunity also for Hajj again and again, Umrah again and again inshallah ta'ala. The question here is that now those of us that are left behind, what do we learn from this? How does this affect our lives? And what do we need to do for it to affect our lives? So for those of us that have not done Hajj yet, we should strive and save to go for Hajj as quickly as possible, number one. And number two is that the Hajj signifies submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, total submission. When a Haji goes for Hajj, they submit themselves totally to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are only allowed to do what is required by Sharia. So as soon as a person comes into the fold of Ihram, there are certain things that are forbidden now for this person to do. For example, putting on perfume, slaughtering an animal, husband-wife relationship, cutting hair and nails. There are certain restrictions for the Haji. So in those 5 days of Hajj, a Haji is restricted to these things, whereby the Haji is in total submission to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Total submission. Ensuring that all the salah are in the correct time, ensuring that all the rituals are performed correctly and at the right time, going to Mina, going to Muzdalifah, going to Arafat, pelting of the shaitan. Everything is done systematically in an organized manner, in a particular manner. And if certain things are not done in a particular manner, or if certain things are overlooked or neglected, then sometimes there is a penalty that has to be paid. A penalty that has to be paid. But during that time, the Haji is in total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, going back to my question is that what do we need to do, those of us that are left behind? So what we learn from this Hajj, it should remind us of the sacrifices of Ibrahim alayhi salam for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we learn and study the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam, throughout his life, he was in total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where he had to leave, in accordance to the command of Allah, his place of birth and town. He had to leave his father at a young age. He was thrown into the fire, another test. He was commanded to leave his wife and young born Ismail alayhi salam in a completely barren land. And when his young boy Ismail alayhi salam grew up, he was commanded to sacrifice. Every stage of the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam was in total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Total submission. Not an oof, not a question why. Why should I have to do this? And because of this submission that Ibrahim alayhi salam did to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala gave him the laqab, the title of Khalilullah, the most close friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most close friend. One is a waliullah and the other is Khalilullah. Very close friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of his submission. So we that are left behind, my friends, we also learn or should learn, whilst the Hujjaj are performing their Hajj and whilst they are in total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should also be in total submission to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu dkhulu fis silmi kaffa wa la tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan. O believers, enter into Islam fully, completely. Don't pick and choose that this suits me, I will do this doesn't suit me, I won't do this. At the moment Fajr is too early in the morning, so I'll read it later on. No. Or I am working at the moment, I cannot read my Salah in the correct time. No. Total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just the way the Hujjaj are also advised in the Quran Majid by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wala fusuka wala jidala fil hajj, that one should not commit any sins. One should not fight during Hajj. The same applies for us also as a lesson in submitting ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every aspect of our lives. So whenever the command of Allah comes in whichever aspect of our life, the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes precedence to anything else. The Sharia takes precedence to anything else. And then of course we've got the sacrifice, the qurbani, the udhiyah, which the Hujjaj are required to do as dam-e shukr, for gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sacrifice for gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we also that are left behind are required to sacrifice for those people that have the equivalent of the nisab of zakat. And nowadays the nisab of zakat is mainly based on the nisab of silver, which is only a couple of £100. And normally everybody has this much amount of money, 200-300 pounds, normally people have. Illa mashallah, there may be some that don't have. But the large majority of us will have this amount of money. And therefore, the udhiyah, the qurbani becomes wajib according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi. It becomes wajib on the person to do sacrifice. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself did many sacrifices at the time of qurbani. To such an extent that he also did one sacrifice on behalf of the whole ummah. On behalf of the whole ummah. So when we are sacrificing, doing the qurbani, what is the purpose? The purpose of sacrificing qurbani is not so that we can just enjoy the meat or share the meat. When we are doing the qurbani, when we are sacrificing the animal, we are saying, Ya Allah, I am sacrificing this animal. In other words, I am sacrificing my desires for you. I am sacrificing my nafs for you. My desire is that I should not read salah, but I am sacrificing now from now on I will make sure I read my salah. I will be in total submission to you. I have not been paying zakat up to now. Now I sacrifice in total submission. From now on, I will make sure I pay my zakat. I have not been obedient to my parents. From this point, I am sacrificing this animal. I am sacrificing my desires and my nafs to make sure that I am obedient to my parents from now on. In every aspect of our lives, my brothers, in every aspect of our lives, sacrifice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The question here is that we are now, some of us 20 years old, 40 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, and we have been doing qurbani every year. Every year we have been doing qurbani, sacrificing, udhiyah. But how much of these sacrifices has made a difference to our lives? Are we still the same as we were? So the qurbani that we did last year, the sacrifice that we did last year, you and I, we need to ask each other this question to ourselves. That the sacrifice we did last year, how has that affected our lives from last year to now? Has it made a positive change? If it's made a positive change, alhamdulillah. But if our life is still the same, it's not made any change, then we need to think about the sacrifices that we are doing, my friends. That means that we are doing the sacrifice for the sake of just fulfilling a ritual, for the sake of just completing a command, and it's not making any difference to our lives. So this year, my friends, when we do the udhiyah, the qurbani, mashallah, nowadays there are so many people that make arrangements for this, and we should try to do it over here as well. We should try to do at least one udhiyah over here also. Mashallah, we have several abattoirs and butchers that make arrangements for this and partake of the qurbani meat. So apart from partaking of the qurbani meat, sharing it with our friends, families, or with the needy, we should do one over here, and whatever we do out of the country, but with the intention that we are making these sacrifices to submit ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my friends. Total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said in the hadith that that person who makes a sacrifice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a reward for every hair on that animal and removes a sin for every hair on that animal. So imagine the reward, and imagine the cleanliness that a person, spiritual cleanliness that a person gets by doing the sacrifice. So this year, my friends, when we do the sacrifice, let's psychologically prepare our minds that I am submitting my life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just the way the Hujjaj are in total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I am making this sacrifice now in total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, I will analyze my whole life. I will analyze my whole life. My personal life, my life with my children, my life with my family, my life with my parents, my social life, my employment life. Analyze. And there's always room for improvement, my friends. There is always room for improvement. Up till now, if we are not punctual with our salah, from now on, I am sacrificing from now on, I will be punctual with my salah. I am sacrificing from now on, I will make sure I give my zakat. I am sacrificing from now on, I will make sure I will fast in the month of Ramadan. I am sacrificing from now on, if I haven't done my hajj, I am going to save up and go for the next hajj, inshallah. And if I have been a rude person, from now on, I will make sure that I am not rude anymore. If I have a habit of swearing, from now on I will make sure I will no longer swear. If I have not been fulfilling the rights of my family, from now on I will make sure I fulfill the rights of my family. My wife, my children, my parents, my cousins, my uncles, aunts, my grandparents. There's always room for improvement, my friends. Somewhere along the line, there's always room for improvement. At times we feel that just because we are reading our salah 5 times a day, and this aspect also we need to look at, that we might find some people that are punctual with their salah, and they have the Islamic garb on, and on the outset it looks, mashallah, that this person is pious, but the dealings and dealings of the person are not pious. The person is still consuming haram, having haram income, or taking and giving interest, or doing somebody over in a business deal. So as much as the outwardly appearance is important, but the inwardly condition is even more important, my friends. The inwardly condition. Otherwise, we are like hypocrites. That on the outside we are showing people that we are very pious, but our dealings and dealings are not like that. So total submission. Physical ibadah, physical appearance, physical ibadah, and spiritual cleanliness also, my friends. So this is what our Hajj teaches us. This is what the Hajj teaches us, is total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you and I all the tawfiq to submit ourselves and our lives in totality to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How are we going to do this? We are going to learn from the ulama, my friends. Sit in the company of the ulama, sit in the company of the pious, sit in the company of those that teach, go on to attend. As adults also you can attend madrasas. Nowadays there are many online options available as well to learn more about the deen, alhamdulillah. So take advantage of these things, my friends. Sit in the company of the ulama, learn our deen, and make a positive change to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in totality. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillah rabbil alameen.
Plenty of space in those rooms. And if there's any space in front of you, just make sure the stuff is complete before you go to the next one. Jazakallah khair. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
As-Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullah. Just a few quick announcements, inshallah, before we start the khutbah, inshallah. The first one is tomorrow, inshallah, outside Curry's in St. George's Retail Park, the Peace Centre has an awareness day between 10 and 6. So they're looking for volunteers, and if we can't volunteer, at least if we're in the area, we'll show support to, inshallah, the volunteers that will be there. The second one is tomorrow, inshallah, in the Peace Centre, they have the Madrasa Fund Day, the annual fund day for the students of Madrasa As-Salaam. So they're looking for donations, inshallah. Whatever we can donate, inshallah, towards this event, inshallah, it'll be sadaqatul jariyah for us, and whoever we make niyyah for also, inshallah. And last but not least important is Eid Salah. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, this year we'll have Eid Salah again in the park opposite. But these events don't just happen out of magic, you know. Alhamdulillah, there's a lot of time and effort and volunteering that goes behind it. So we're looking for volunteers, inshallah, to support on Eid Day, be before the Salah in preparing, or after the Salah, inshallah, in clearing up and, you know, making sure the park is tidy in a position where next year the council don't have anything against us, inshallah. So for this Eid Salah, there's a volunteers meeting today, inshallah, after Asr Salah. So after Asr Salah today in the Peace Centre, there's a meeting for volunteers. So brothers who haven't put their name already, inshallah, it's fine. Come during Asr, inshallah, and stay in the meeting, inshallah, which will take place after Asr. Jazakallah. And can I ask all the brothers, inshallah, if you just stand up and move forward, inshallah, fill the gaps. That way no one has to stand by the door and wait, inshallah. If we just fill the gap in front of us. Jazakallah. Jazakallah. If you all just stand up, inshallah, and move slightly forward, be it one step or two steps, inshallah, or just move to the stuff in front of us, there'll be plenty of space, inshallah, at the back. Jazakallah. Jazakallah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله الذي أعاد علينا الشهر الحرام لنتشرف بحج بيته الحرام ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ذو الجلال والإكرام ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدًا عبده ورسوله عليه الصلاة والسلام وعلى آله وأصحابه الكرام أما بعد فيا أيها الناس قد حان عليكم شهر ذي الحجة الحرام شرعت لنا فيها أحكام منها صيام 9 أيام في 10 الأولى والقيام قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما من أيام أحب إلى الله أن يتعبد له فيها من 10 ذي الحجة يعدل صيام كل يوم منها بصيام سنة وقيام كل ليلة منها بقيام ليلة القدر رواه الترمذي وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام صيام يوم عرفة أحتسب على الله أن يكفر سنة التي قبله والسنة التي بعده. أخرجه مسلم في صحيحه. ومنها صلاة العيد وخطبتها وإحياء ليلتها، ومنها الأضحية وتكبيرات التشريق إلى 5 أيام. وفقنا الله تعالى لامتثال سائر الأحكام، آمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله. أقول قولي هذا، أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه، إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدًا عبده ورسوله الذي أرسل بالحق بشيرًا ونذيرًا. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين إلى يوم الدين، خصوصا على أمير المؤمنين سيدنا أبي بكر الصديق رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى أمير المؤمنين سيدنا عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى أمير المؤمنين سيدنا عثمان بن عفان رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى سائر الصحابة والتابعين رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات، إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم احفظنا من كل بلاء الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. اللهم احفظ الحرمين الشريفين والمسجد الأقصى المبارك، آمين يا رب العالمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي، يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Please straighten your rows, inshallah. Brothers are reminding, inshallah, if there's a space in front, let's try to fill it. There's still a few brothers by the door. Let's try to fill the spaces that may be in front of us. Jazakallah. Jazakallah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
So صفوفكم, please straighten your rows, ensuring we are standing shoulder to shoulder. Now our heels on the back table. Jazakallah. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.